Hey bee fans, just a quick video on something I'd like to cover, which is animal husbandry. This is quite a hot topic at the moment with regards to beekeeping. So I'd just like to give you my take on conventional thinking with regards to animal husbandry. But we need to take this back a few steps. So let's have a look at the way that a beehive works, and then we can have a look at, if we understand how a beehive works, we can then look at what sort of husbandry is required for a beehive. So if you look at a bee, it's like a cell within a body. A honeybee on its own cannot survive. It needs to have the entire complex of other bees as well as comb and everything else that's going on within the beehive, and then it becomes a superorganism. And only once it's a superorganism can it live. But then again, no superorganism or no organism can live independently on its own. It needs to have other organisms, it needs to have other bodies around as well. So no beehive is an entity unto itself. It needs to have the entire network of other beehives around it for it to be able to become a viable system. Beekeepers tend to forget this, and they think they are a little island unto themselves. They've got their little apiary of 3 or 4 beehives, and they can then manipulate it as much as they want to with no impact at all. And they need to administer stringent animal husbandry because they're a little island unto themselves, and if they get varroa mite or if they get any sort of diseases, they need to control it in their hive. But they've lost, and they've completely forgotten, or they've never been taught, or they're just completely ignorant to the fact that they are part of an entire network of other colonies around them. I call it the pebble in the pond effect. And basically what that is if there's a beekeeper and I have wild nests around, either in trees, in buildings, or just in my hives, radiating out from wherever a beekeeper is, I can roughly ascertain what issues he has and what husbandry practices he or she is practicing. I can give you an example. If a beekeeper, but first, before I give you an example, the critical thing with bees is they need to be a network to be successful. And they are very good at combating problems. They've been around a lot longer than what humans have, and they're virtually unchanged in the time that we've evolved into humans. Honeybees are virtually unchanged, and that's how good they are. Humans in a harsh environment like in Africa, as soon as a woman can bear kids, they will reproduce. Pedophilia doesn't come into the whole scene, and that would be 12, 13 years old, they'll start reproducing. In the Western world, Western civilization, women reproduce from 25 to 40. That's how long it takes for our evolutionary cycle to happen. Honeybees, if there's in a normal year, they will swarm twice in a year, sometimes 3 times in a year. If they're having major issues, anything up to 4 times in a year, they will swarm. And what happens there is it's a learning process. Bees are very good at learning what's going on in the environment and combating problems. And beekeepers fall foul of the fact that they believe the idea that they are this little island and they need to control their little island. It doesn't work like that. They'll keep a queen for 3 years. That is completely unnatural. going back to my example, how I can tell what a beekeeper is doing by what's happening in the environment and the fact that bees learn so quickly. So something that's as simple and is considered so trivial as feeding sugar. If a beekeeper feeds sugar, the swarms that emanate from that colony or those colonies will expect to get fed. And invariably, if I capture swarms from beekeepers that persist in feeding, those swarms more than likely will die because they will, through winter, not store enough honey because they would be expected to be fed because of their sharp learning curve. So animal husbandry is very short-sighted, self-centered, egotistical even, and arrogant in thinking that beekeepers can use chemicals from mainstream chemical companies to be able to combat things like varroa mite. So much so that even once wild colonies had dealt with the issue and were being very successful in dealing with varroa mite, beekeepers won't look at that data. They still insist in using chemicals, which is completely bizarre. So there we have a few things, and this is based on my research, which I don't call my research. I don't call it research so much as an investigation through tactic, derivative, salient, discriminatory investigation, and from that I can ascertain certain things. But what you consider as being a thing today, because they evolve so quickly, not even in a year or two's time, because they evolve so quickly and learn so quickly, it might be within a season the rules have completely changed as to what you consider as being the norm. So yes, animal husbandry needs to be looked at from a commercial point of view through a different looking glass. So yes, I do believe if you're going to keep bees in an artificial environment like a Langstroth hive and farm them in the way that they are farmed, there is a certain amount of animal husbandry that is required, but not in the way that it's being promoted at the moment through large organizations. Definitely not. Anyway, that's my take on it. Hope you like this video. If you do like it, give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to find out some more about eco beehives and a better way to keep bees, working with bees opposed to working against them or arrogantly just trying to run them like a Victorian beehive, have a look at what I do. Thanks guys, cheers, bye bye.